So, let me know when everyone has their first, has all three sheets. And while you're finishing passing them around, I'll explain to you why I'm so passionate about this. Many of you, but not all of you, will know this. I was not raised in church. I was not raised as a Christian. In fact, my home, by the time I was in about second grade, was pretty aggressively anti-Christian. My mom really hated Christianity. My dad was sort of a non-practicing Christian. And coming to faith for me was not like I went into church and had a big emotional experience and I just had to give my heart to Jesus. Some people get that, and that's great. I hope that some of you have that experience, but I have never had it. I was argued into the Christian faith, and I was dragged in kicking and screaming. There was data in my life, data I had learned in classes in college that I couldn't make sense of. That it was reading other great thinkers from different worldviews, scientists, sociologists, anthropologists, theologians. I don't think I ever read a pastor or heard a sermon before I became a Christian, except for the ones we heard visiting with your grandma's church, and we mostly didn't like those. We used to go to church with her grandmother because she lived in town where we went to college. I was dragged in kicking and screaming to be a Christian because it made sense of the data that nothing else made sense of. So I love the way C.S. Lewis said it at one point in his books. He says, I believe in Jesus the way I believe in the sun, not because I can see it, but because I can see everything else because of him. And this is why I'm passionate about this subject. And you're welcome to think I'm a geek. I'm okay with that. I am. But you'll probably rarely in your life meet someone who is as excited about this area as I am. So I ask questions. If what I'm saying doesn't make sense to you, I'm okay. You can challenge me. I don't get brokenhearted about that. In fact, the book of Proverbs says steel sharpens steel. As steel sharpens steel. You ever see guys doing that when you go to like the Japanese restaurant or something? As steel sharpens steel, so one man sharpens another. We're going to come at the truth together. In fact, if you look at your quote sheet, you'll see a quote there. I think it's the third one down from John Calvin. Can I read yours since I don't have a copy? Yep. All truth is from God, and consequently, if wicked men have said anything that is true and just, we ought not to reject it, for it has come from God. Okay? I firmly believe that, even though I'm not a Calvinist. I firmly believe that's true. I hate the Nazis as much as the next person, but a lot of Nazis read to their kids and tucked them into bed at night. I'm not going to stop doing that with my kids or my grandchildren because Nazis did it. We're a mixed bag. And we can get at the truth only by coming at it together, okay? So if I give you guys an assignment, here's the rule. You can completely disagree with everything you've heard me say. You just have to support your argument. I'm fine with that. I will not grade you on whether I agree with you. I will grade your paper, or as much as I can. Your parents give you your grade. Okay? I will give recommendations for your grade to your parents based on how well you support what you say. Cool? Okay. So grab your note-taking sheet, and here's your first assignment. How many Skittles do you think are in this container? Very simple. How many Skittles do you think are in this container? This 1 quart container. Is this a quart? It probably is a quart. Looks like a quart a gallon.
Write it down. Am I allowed to write down X?
X would be an unspecified number, so it will not get you any closer to the number.
It's a variable.
It's a
million.
It is. It is a variable. You are correct. But usually you solve for X. So what do you think? How many of these?
It's too high. 1,000.
I actually counted these last night, so
Individually
this took serious class preparation.
When did you do that?
when you guys were out working on your homework.
You counted? You like
I counted all of these. 2 at a time. 2, 4, 6, 8.
how could you be sweet? It wasn't like
Okay, that's the
no, I'm just saying. Do we write down already? Or like do we write down our answer? Or do we
Yes, write down your answer. Yeah, this is you got it. This is a commitment. You're making a commitment here.
I got you. Hey, it's way less. Yeah. Over a yeah.
But I only want to
Since it's under 200, it's at
Yeah,
least over.
yeah.
Yeah. Shoot. Yeah. You're right. That is a little. I mean, kudos to you. You can say under 200. You know. All right. I'll respect that. I just bumped it 100
I
up.
know.
300 is a little too much.
You never know.
400.
I was thinking 600 when you first moved up.
Wow,
What?
what?
I'm just saying.
Okay, I think I went a little overboard. I may have gone above 1K. Yeah, maybe.
I'm totally making it.
Everyone got a guess written down?
Yes.
Everyone's got a guess written down? Okay. Let's hear your guesses and give me your name as you do.
1,500.
And your name is?
Anthony.
Anthony. 1,500.
Faith, 239.
39.
Very exact.
263.
And what is your name?
What's that?
Thank you.
That's all.
Say that number again.
263.
Okay.
242.
Your name. Huh?
Oh,
242.
376.
Okay.
Say Isaac first.
Isaac.
Pietro and 227.
227.
And 350.
Elizabeth, 982. Delilah, 265. Addison, 277.
Anna or Annie, 200.
Which do you prefer?
Call me Annie. I mean, I guess Annie.
Why
I'm
bring up
used
the
to it.
options?
It's an option. Like,
Okay.
I grew up with Annie, but then at the same time, it's like Anna, so.
Okay. Okay. So, and your number was?
250.
Okay.
Julia, 147.
147.
Mason, 215.
Mason, 215. Back row. Any guesses? 250.
Amanda, 200. Megan,
Jesus Christ.
David, 193.
That's 520.
And Vanetta is the winner. 517. Okay, so the Skittles are starting at Vanetta, and they're going to get passed around. So everybody grab yourself some food.
It looks like a blanket. Absolutely boring.
Okay, so this is. I wanted to get started with this because I want you guys to have a snack while you're eating. I figure it's mid-morning, a little sugar rush will help. And but I wanted to share with you guys when Jewish children learned the alphabet, the way they learned the alphabet. They can pass them. Yeah, they just
pour them down.
pass them along there. Yeah, so yeah, give yourself some and pass them along. And then you can always go back for extras. When Jewish children would learn the alphabet, how did you learn the alphabet when you were in elementary? You learned the song. How did you learn to write it? How did you learn to write it?
I don't know.
Repetition.
Did you guys get one of those papers, and maybe this was just our era, where you had like a hard blue line like this, and then a dotted blue line.
Oh,
like
yeah.
this, and a little red line for doing your handwriting. Remember that? Get your handwriting good so you know how to form those letters. Do you want to know how Jewish kids learn their alphabet? they would paint.
I like that.
I missed something. All right. So their teacher would take a board and paint the letter on the board in honey. Honey. And then the child would lick the letter off.
That's one way to do it.
Remember, in the ancient world, they didn't have refined sugar. That was the sweetest thing you were going to have.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So then they would give the honey to the child, and the child had to repeat the shape, and then they got to lick it off again. So that when a Jewish child heard the scriptures that say, taste and see that the Lord is good, they were immediately associating the words of the scriptures with a real taste in their mouth. Okay? So that's why I want you, as we're going through all this, I hope to challenge you. I hope to make you think about a couple of things. It'll also probably affirm a couple of things. But I hope in the end you discover that knowledge is sweeter than ignorance as we go on in this class. Okay. So you guessed how many were in the jar. Oh, you left me some. Thank you. The next thing I want you to do, right under where you guessed how much candy was in there, I want you to write the name of your favorite song and the band that performs it.
That's hard.
Pick a favorite then. If you can't pick your absolute favorite, and I understand that because I have trouble with that too. Pick a favorite. Pick one of the greatest songs, especially if you don't think it's one your classmates have heard.
Yeah, that's like exactly what I'm. Is that are you sure? Is that
Put on a playlist. You don't recognize all 9. You don't remember all 195. Are we sharing the songs with?
We'll find out. For now, just write them down.
It's not
No debate.
absolutely, but it's up there because I don't have a specific favorite. This is not at all my favorite.
That will be true of mine as well. Okay, has everybody got something written down?
Yeah.
No? All right, give you another minute. Write something down. I know that there are.
I don't know the name to that song. I actually have the song, so I could
Stop.
Uh,
No.
okay. Next thing. Write down your favorite book or movie.
I know both.
Both or just one?
Or either or.
segregation. Not like that. But
All right.
Oh, man. It's not my favorite, but it's good.
Lisa gives something for tea here. That's the non-German guy. Okay, does everybody have an answer for that one? All right, so I'm going to start. This is where we all get to learn a little bit about each other. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to share with you is a favorite piece of music. Now, I am a musician by training, so picking my favorite piece of music overall would be like trying to pick my favorite child. It just doesn't work. But I'm going to share with you one of my favorite pieces of music, and it is a song called "Sing, Sing, Sing" by Benny Goodman, and is a very specific recording of it. The 1939 Live from Carnegie Hall jazz concert. There's a couple reasons why this song is my favorite. Is my favorite because it was one of those songs that my dad played for me on the old 33 RPM albums. And this was the first time jazz was considered gutter music back in the 20s. It was the first time that jazz, non-classical music, was allowed to be heard in Carnegie Hall. And Benny Goodman's band being invited there was huge because they were an integrated band. They weren't an all-white band. He had purposely had a mixed band of all different races. He wanted the best musicians. He didn't care what color skin they had. So Lionel Hampton was there on the marimba playing and stuff like this. Amazing. But when they were so uptight because it was the first time non-classical musicians were allowed to be in there. And the thing about Sing, Sing, Sing when they do it is it's the first time the band relaxed all night long. They just suddenly realized like it was going well and they could chill out. And all of a sudden, all the music comes to life. And it was hearing Benny Goodman's solo on that, and he was a clarinet player. Believe it or not, that was the rock stars of the 1930s, were clarinet players. It was hearing his solo that inspired me to go into learning to play music. But there's another reason why this song's kind of important to me now. My dad's getting dementia, and he's really losing a lot of his, especially short-term memory. Well, my brother picked him up to take him to a football game of my nephew recently. And in the car, Dad couldn't remember to have conversations, what they were talking about in the short term. But when he put on the stuff from Dad's childhood, like this music, then my dad could engage and talk about it and be excited about it. So it's this beautiful thing to me. So that's a great piece to me of music. My favorite movie is going to be an easy one for my kids to guess. It's the 1995 Jennifer Ely and Colin Firth version of Pride and Prejudice, the 5-hour version of the movie. Because much as I love, what's her name with the long neck?
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley. Much as I like Keira Knightley as an actress, her version of Pride and Prejudice was lousy. It was horribly poorly done. One of the reasons I love this movie is because it's one of the few movies where the movie is almost exactly the same as the book. There are literally 2 scenes in the book that do not appear in the movie. So, and the dialogue is word for word. It's so beautifully rendered. And we'll probably, because Mrs. Jenkins and I do this Dr. Jenkins and I do this from time to time, we will probably have a Pride and Prejudice party at our house. It takes all day, and we have a good time with it. So I love this, but it's also because, and here's your first, this is not a required vocabulary word, but I'm going to use it a lot. So I put this word up here so you would know what it is. Gesamtkunstwerk. How's that for a word?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, German. There you go. I heard somebody say it. Lisa, I'm going to ask Dr. Jenkins to give us the proper translation of the word. I know what it means, but can you translate that properly?
Gesamt is total or complete. Kunst is the word for art, and Werk is word for work. So
total artwork. Okay, this was first used in association with the works of Wagner, right? That was where that idea came in. If you hear have you guys heard the music? Dun, 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 Ride of the Valkyries. Okay, that's from the Nibelungs opera cycle by Richard Wagner. Richard Wagner controlled his opera and did everything in it. So like when you watch the credits at the end of a movie and it says written by so-and-so and directed by so-and-so and blah, 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 screenplay by... No, it would have been Richard Wagner, Richard Wagner, Richard Wagner, Richard Wagner. He did everything in it. Okay. What I love about this movie is it is a beautiful Gesamtkunstwerk. Wasn't all by one person, but it's a beautifully integrated piece of art. Not only is it accurate to the book, both in literal word for word, but in its spirit. But when Andrew Davies wrote it, he included lines that were in the book in the narrator's voice into the mouths of the characters, so you could hear them. Because when you read a Jane Austen novel, she is the most important person in the book. Jane Austen's the most important person in the book when you read her book, even though she never appears. Also, there's music for every character in the movie. That's called a leitmotif. So there's a little melody attached to each character. So the first time they enter the screen, you hear their melody, and it keeps coming back in the music, and it's just beautifully done. So that's my favorite movie, and that's why. So Macy, I'm going to pass off to you. And I think for the sake of time, would the adults be insulted if I just went around the table with the kids? Okay, because I'm just looking at the time going, I'm going to run out of time, because that's what I do. Give us both. You can start with whichever one you want, but what's more important than what you like is why you like it.
My favorite movie is Sweet Home Alabama, and it's what my
Louder?
My favorite movie is Sweet Home Alabama, and it's what my grandma used to watch with me.
Okay, Sweet Home Alabama.
And then the song called Time Bomb. I don't know who it's by, but my dad knows.
Time Bomb?
Yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
It's by,
Okay. What do you like about the song?
The beat of it. It's good.
Okay, so you kind of has an infectious beat. It kind of grabs you and pulls you in. Okay. And your name is again?
Julia.
Julia. I apologize. She's at the end of the line, so she's the easiest name to remember.
Well, my favorite movie is probably Hunger Games because it's very action-packed and I find it a nice movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not like as in like that's so like
No, it's not like that. No, I agree with that. Yeah.
And then probably one of my favorite songs is American Boy because the beat is really nice and upbeat and it always gets me like very happy.
Okay, cool. Makes you happy. That's awesome. And Anna?
So my favorite song is Hotel California. I know like the meaning is a little weird because it's pretty much about hell. But it just reminds me of like the rides I used to go with my dad and my brother. Like we would just go on rides, and car rides and stuff.
Listen to the Eagles on the car ride.
Of course. And then my favorite movie is The Count of Monte Cristo. I just love the meaning of it. I don't know. I just like the old movies. And
which version of it? Who's starring in it? Is that the Leonardo DiCaprio one?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
So my favorite song is probably "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You" by Elvis Presley, not like any of the
okay, none of the remakes. All right.
And then my favorite movie so the song, I don't know, I just like the first time I heard it, it just like I don't know. I just loved it. That's just it. My favorite movie is either Django Unchained because it's like one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, or The Lovely Bones because it's just really sad, and I felt like I felt for like my parents and her parents and like everybody felt that.
I like Speak Now by Taylor Swift because my sister, like, she loves Taylor Swift and she still does. We would always listen to her, and that's like one of my favorite songs.
Okay.
And I like Little Women. I like the movie and the book. And I like the old movie, the newer movie. I just really like the story.
Mm-hmm. Aldous Huxley did the screenwriting for the original.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So my favorite song is one called "Standing Outside the Fire" by Garth Brooks. Well, I don't know if it's my actual favorite. I have a lot of favorite songs, but I don't know. I have really fond memories of dancing to the song. Just like I've been dancing to it since I was 5 years old, and I still have the exact same dance routine from when I was 5 years old because it's just that much fun to dance to. But it's just got a nice warm sound to it, and I kind of like the story that it tells, and the music video for it is just spectacular. I have a whole bunch of other favorites, but that one's one that stands out to me. And then probably if I had to pick a favorite book, it'd be Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
and the way that it wraps up everything in the series. It's beautiful and it's heartbreaking and it's so amazing on every level.
My favorite song is probably Beyond Me by Toby Mac. This one, like, it goes back to, like, when I watched a YouTube video, that was, like, a Lego stop motion animation for this song. It just is one of my really early memories on YouTube. And as for my favorite movie, probably Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, because it has Baby Groot, which is always awesome, great fun music, and I just love all the comedy in it, and awesome action scenes.
Okay. So I have multiple things written down for my favorite song, but "Happy Dance" is. I'm joking. That's a joke. "Remember the Times" by Michael Jackson. I really like that one. I like a lot of Michael Jackson's songs. Very sad and vibey, something like that. And sorry. And then my favorite movie is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. I mean, yes, it doesn't have Baby Groot, but I love the soundtrack of in the movie, the beginning scene, heartbreaking, and all the action in the movie is so good, and it's really funny. I love the introduction to the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's
Sure.
really good.
Yeah, but both
Yeah.
movies had strong openings. I agree.
Both, yeah.
Okay. My favorite song is "Dead Weight" by Jack Sauber. I don't really know why I like it. Maybe it's just like really just. It's just really like smooth and calm and like pretty vibey, and I always bop my head to it. My favorite book is Captain Underpants, the Captain Underpants series.
Thanks for honesty.
Yeah, it's mostly the reason why I have such a bad sense of humor. Like, just look of shame on your sister's face. I really like the writing of it and the characters. It's a really good concept, and yeah, it's just a really big part of my childhood.
My favorite song is, I think it's not my favorite, but it's just one of them, is Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. It's just like all over the place pretty much. And
Yeah.
that reminds me of me.
So, what do you like about it specifically? I mean, because you can hear it every place. You mean?
No,
It's
it's
like
just
all
like,
different
it's just like a different type of.
Oh, it keeps changing like
Yeah.
the way it feels. Okay, yeah.
And then one of my favorites movies, I like a lot of Adam Sandler movies. So one of them is like The Longest Yard. It's a lot of comedy and stuff like that. So I really that's all the movies I watch is comedy. And then,
Okay.
my favorite song is September by Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of my favorites. It's not my favorite, but I like it because I used to listen to it with my nanny a lot. So, and my favorite movie is Billy Madison by Adam Sandler, just because it's hilarious.
My favorite, well, not my favorite, but like one of them is "Christ Be All by Grace Worship." It's just, I love it. It's such a good worship song, and I really enjoy it.
What do you enjoy about it? Mind if I ask?
I don't know. It's just the atmosphere because we just sang it on Sunday, and just the atmosphere of everyone singing it. It's so. I don't know. I get chills. It's so beautiful, and something about it just may Christ be all. So, yeah. And then total opposite for my favorite movie. It's one of my favorite. I just have a lot of nostalgia with it. Is Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. I love that movie. I could watch it anytime, anywhere, all the way through, and be totally into it. It's just, I love it.
So still a horse lover.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Just as obsessed with it. Look at my sketchbook and it shows.
All right, Anthony.
Well, my favorite movie it's technically movies is the Matrix trilogy.
Mhm.
It's
I don't know, something about it. It's how deep and complex it gets about like understanding everything around you and everything that you can't see, and then just trying to learn about what you can't see. It's interesting. And then favorite song probably has to be Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Hmm.
Something about it, I don't know.
Who's that by?
Not Green Day, but
Yeah.
no, it's not Green Day.
Nope.
It's Linkin Park.
Lincoln Park.
Okay. I was wondering if it was one I'd heard. I think I have heard that one. Okay. So here's my question for you as we get to the end of this. For a few minutes discussion here, is religious faith, religious knowledge, more like guessing how many Skittles are in a container? Or is it more like discussing what your favorite movie or song is? So throw it out on the table, and this is where you have the ability to jump in. This is where we're going to have a dialogue. So go ahead, you start us
I
off.
feel like it's more like guessing the Skittles because you're putting your faith into something that you can't really see or know for sure.
Okay.
But then, like when you're talking about something, you know that everyone's saying it, and you can guess that it's true if it's coming from them.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah, it's all about who you're talking with. Yeah, if you think about it, because it's like some people they'll take religion into like that, that they'll just everything by the book instead of just chopping it up into like, oh yes, I agree with this part, I disagree with this part, and this part I'm a little unsure of.
Personally, I think it's a little bit more like talking about your favorite movie or your favorite song.
In what way?
Because a large part of what you have when it comes to your knowledge of Christianity is your own personal experience. I mean, obviously, you also have a lot of stuff like recorded in the Bible, but the way that I think that it's not like the Skittles is that it's pure guesswork. Like, yes, you do have to put your faith in something, but there's something very different about it. Like, the Skittles are more abstract, and I think that there's also a deeper emotional connection involved in religion that's more like trying to talk about your favorite song or your favorite book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. What else?
I'm going to counter that though and say that the Skittles are there. You're trying to understand it, and you're given a certain amount of things you can see with your senses. But then you have to kind of plumb the depths. Like how deep would they? I was like actually looking at it and counting. Like okay, there's like 9 Skittles up, and I count that many. So if I'm thinking, but I'm realizing like I'm trying to understand what's inside it, and so I feel like to a certain extent your faith is kind of like that. There's certain things you can see and understand easily, and then there's stuff that like I just don't understand. And how can I grasp what's there that I can't see?
But a counter to that is the fact that the same is in a way true when you're talking about something like your favorite book or your favorite song, because you're trying to understand what it is that gives you such a deep connection to it. And I think that's a lot like religion, that like you tend to feel a deeper connection to it, but you have to understand why. So like, back in the early days of Christianity when you were baptized and given first communion before anything was explained to you, you felt that deep connection before you understood why. So, like, if somebody asks you what's your favorite movie and you answer instantly with that, you then have to think about what is it that makes it your favorite.
Yeah. And the only thing I think that probably the favorite things that it's completely subjective, and it's a denial of the fact that there's something true and inherently true. It would be more like a question like asking what is the greatest song ever or something like that. It'd be something where you're trying to find uncover something that it would be a truth, not that you could. But
You guys are. I have to admit, this was interesting. I don't know if it's because you're a Christian homeschool group, or because your generation's more polite than my generation. But when I was in my English class, media we were in charge of doing a creative writing magazine. We had to put out 3 issues a year. We got into this discussion one time. Not one of you guys heard someone else's favorite and went, "Oh, that song stinks," which is definitely what happened in my group. There were like 20 of us on staff, and it became this massive argument about what song was good and which one wasn't. Not one of you guys looked and said, "That is a lousy song. How could you like that one?" Or "That's a horrible movie." None of you guys did that. You're so polite.
In reference to that, I just want to say, and I know that this is going to get a lot of heat from the general class. I'm not Bohemian Rhapsody.
Ah.
I feel like I'm going to get attacked later on.
Ooh, ouch. Oh, it's getting personal over here.
We're at the campfire. We played the song, and
Of course, because you guys
She was
wailing.
I was
Yeah,
like,
they were all
I was
like,
just like we were like singing like
That was not
like
singing,
that.
was wailing.
It's a good song. It's just way over you. Yeah, it's
yeah.
I haven't heard it all the time. I just don't like singing about it.
That one in Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen.
It can be used.
You're talking about being overused. That the Hallelujah song by Leonard Cohen, the Shrek song, as you all know it.
that one.
Too many movies. Too many movies
That
that shows
also
up.
I mean, like, so it's really funny. Like,
Actually, I said
so
that
many movies and songs which are now being made that not a lot of people knew about those other movies and songs because they knew about a lot of other ones which maybe those people didn't know of.
Right, right. Did any of you get, based on what someone else said, did any of you get interested in seeing or hearing something you haven't heard before? Like you heard someone else say something like, "I never really listened to that song or never saw that movie."
I was surprised that people like Little West. I was not expecting.
I know. I didn't expect it until like this year. I didn't listen to that at all. Oh, old songs are now my thing.
Okay.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah.
On Hotel California, I think it qualifies as an old song by now. It's like 40. It's like 40 years old at least. Yeah. 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 Okay. So as you go to your homework, as you look at the questions I'm asking you to answer, I want you to be thinking about this. The other thing I want you to be thinking about throughout the course of this year, and I'll remind you from time to time, is we've got what? Catholic, Lutheran, Baptist, non-denominational? Is that what you guys are?
I cannot remember the word right now.
Okay. Yeah. So all of us worship in different styles. We all have different theological commitments at the peripheries of our belief system. But what is at the center of our belief system? Those of us who are Catholic and Lutheran in particular, we use what are called creeds in our worship, right? Apostles' Creed, Nicene Creed. The earliest Christian creed was this. Most basic statement of belief. Okay? Everything else is an elaboration on that. You may all have seen a couple of years ago, there were a group of workers from Libya who were working in Egypt, and they were captured. It wasn't the Taliban; it was another group like that, like Hamas or something, that captured a whole bunch of Christians who were in Egypt, just trying to find work, and they abducted them. They took them out to the edge of the shore of the Mediterranean Sea. They put them knee deep in the water, and made them kneel. And they said, "Reject your faith and become a Muslim." And each of them, their last words were, "Jesus is Lord," as their heads were cut off. That's the most basic Christian affirmation is this. Everything else is an elaboration on it. Okay? So what I want you to, knowing that this is the most basic Christian affirmation, here's the question I want you to keep in your mind. It's going to be behind everything we do this year. What do we mean when we say faith? Christians talk about faith all the time. How necessary faith is. Ephesians 2:8-9 says, salvation is by grace through faith, that none may boast. What do we mean when we say faith? Because, to your point when you said before about how it depends on who you're talking to and the way they're thinking about things, if you say you need to have faith and they think faith means something different than what you think it means, you're not even having a conversation because you're not communicating with each other. So what do Christians mean when we say faith? Okay? Keep that in mind as we start into this, especially as you're starting to answer your questions on the next page. These are just basic questions about reality. These are short answer questions. You don't need to write essays. Just think about when you give your answer, give the most important thing about that answer. Okay, don't give me little stuff. Give me the most important thing you can come up with. Okay. So to end with, I'm going to give you your 3 vocabulary words. I'm going to put these in a different color so you know that they're your vocabulary words. We're going to use them. First is paradigm. Okay. We're going to use these words next classroom. That's why next class time. That's why I want you to know I'm coming in. Next one is metaphysics. Why are we using these words? Y'all know what physics is, right? Some of you are taking physics this year. Anybody know what the word meta means? What the prefix means? Whenever you see it, and you'll see it a lot because of your generation, you're going to hear about meta narratives.
Is it like change?
No.
Outside of?
Good thinking. Close. You're closer.
Here's my lunch.
This is what the Oxford Dictionary is for. Just look it up. Okay, and the last one. This is a big one. Cosmology. Ology should tell you something, right? Mm-hmm. Study of. Not space. Good question. But you're close, though. You're close. You're close.
Time.
Mm-hmm. Look it up. Look it up. Okay. It includes space. I'll give you this hint. The Greek word cosmos means world or earth.
Universe.
Reality.
I thought so.
So you're in that realm, okay? So look it up. Just be ready for that. Again, you see it's on your note sheet. You just need to know the meanings coming in next week. Okay? You don't need to. I'm not going to collect that sheet. The only one I'm going to collect is your homework sheet. Please put your name on it so that I can make sure I get it back to the right people when you give it back. I'll collect that next Tuesday. The last Tuesday of the month, I will not be here. I'll be in Chicago. That'll be your first big assignment. You'll have 2 paragraphs to write. Not that big. I say big. Here. Big by